Hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. My name is Detroit Richardson, and I will be going over my final project and my course of seminar in advanced software development. So we'll go next. As I just mentioned before, hello, my name is Detroit Richardson. I'm in my last year here at Valencia College in pursuit of my bachelor's degree in Bachelor's of Applied Science, Computing Technology, and Software Development. Yes, it's a long title, I know. Please bear with me. I've been here long enough, so I'm used to it. But I'm presenting this my final project with this presentation, which I named this project VetTech Opportunity Radar. Oh, excuse me, sorry. So essentially, the reason why I created this and the reason why it's named VetTech Opportunity Radar is I wanted to create a job finder that utilizes an API calling for job applications that will fill the requirements and also display salary ranges, specify fields, and if have veteran preference. I I've I'm pretty sure we all been in a situation to where we look on Indeed or we searching through LinkedIn and we try to filter out jobs and it's just a list of bunch of randomness and it's hard to kind of filter out to just personally use. So I wanted to create an application that's personally for me, not just for a project in school, but something I can actually use after school. So I have future plans with this as well. I implemented some of them now, but I do have future plans I'm trying to implement into it. If you go over the workflow, the API I wanted to use would be Adzuna API, because this one actually lets me, excuse me, this one actually lets me get real job applications. For each API response, each API response includes fields like the job title, the company, the location, the salary information, the job description, and the posting date. The API also returns a total match count, which shows me how many jobs exist for that search. My collector only downloads a limited of those, though. As you see, I use a Python collector. It only downloads a limited, so it won't overuse the API. Essentially, is I call from the API. My collector pulls the data in raw JSON, and then while it's in raw JSON, I implemented a function that cleans the records. And then once it cleans the records, we can produce our charts and our graphs to show it. I could give you a live. Well, I ran. Excuse me. Essentially, if I could see, what's the button? Let's go. Let's go here. Let's go here. So what we're gonna do is what I'm doing now is I'm trying to. No, let's go back. I don't go too far forward. Sorry. All right. So what I'm trying to do now is actually pull up what I utilize to show you how it works. So the collector is here. So essentially, the collector I put in the search terms that you see here. I have the call client, which is the call client is Azuna. Azuna is basically we have the base URL that we're using. So this is the API. We have the information input here. Then once we do that, we actually run the application called Python run collector. As you see here, so the search for each term, and this term here specifically pulled up 44,000. Now, even though it found that many, this is the reason why I didn't run it live in the environment during this presentation, because it'll take probably like 5 minutes for each one to run, but it only pulls 10 from each one. Then after we pull those 10 from each one we want to do, I almost ran that twice. I'm like, oh no, let's not run that twice. So I had to stop that one. I'm human. Accidents happen. We run the run analysis. So this is what cleans it up and give us the cleans data. So to clean up all that. So once we run the collector, as you see on here, this is the client. We have the collector. This is what run. So we pull out the information, and then we want to clean up the information. Once we clean up the information, we have run analysis and we have run collector. So this is the two how it works. After it cleans up the information, it'll produce the information here. So as you can see here, we have the charts listed for each specific job location. So we have the software development, we have the junior development, all the way down to help desk for each role I've personally experienced in. I'm in college now, as you know, trying to get into the software field, more on the software side. I've done a lot of the IT work and did a lot of the IT. Now I'm trying to focus more. I did more of the hard drive work, more of the physical. I'm gonna do more of the software work. As we utilize that, So as you use like that, this is the different jobs, the different job titles, the different match score. The match score is what match specifically to me, which is that fits me specifically, the task that I've developed of me personally. Like let's say using ServiceNow or Zendesk, so it's getting familiar with those type of things. I'm familiarized myself with those. I also wanted a remote job because, as I said earlier, in the course, not in this presentation, but earlier in this course, I was mentioned that I'm actually not even in the States right now. I'm actually living in South America. So I'm trying to see if I can get a remote job while in South America. So that's also one of the hardest problems I've been coming across. So I implemented all those. And then after what that does, we can go back to the presentation after I show that. But this is the AWS storage. So we have a local storage that saves it too. We have a local CLI that saves it too. But I also want to implement something that it could save to the AWS if I want to implement the S3. So as I can show you here, I created a Lambda function, that connects to the S3 buckets, and then the S3 buckets. I also have here, which this is an event scheduler. So this is not the bucket itself, but this is the event scheduler. This is the London that I'm telling you about, the Lambda function. As you see, they both utilize here, which this will call the collector and get the information as well. This is an event scheduler. So this is the one that pulls the data. Okay, so we got the collector. Boom. If I don't want to have to sit here and click collect every time I want to collect the data or do want to collector.py, I have it scheduled to collect it once a day. You don't want to pull it too much because remember you pay for the API, so you get a limited APIs. Not necessarily. Some of them are free, like the one that Zona gave me right now is free, but you have to pay for the APIs. So you want to make sure you utilize it effectively but efficiently. Like you don't want to overuse it, you don't want to underuse it. So I usually make it pull once a day. I did a test run, as you can see. This was a one-time test, and this is the daily collector. Excuse me. So as this does, essentially what I created right now is this is all the back end work. You got to connect it to AWS. AWS pulls from my Lambda that I created. I mean, pulls from my API. The API is connected to the Lambda. It pulls from the API. The API is now getting called once a day because of the event bridge scheduling. And then as all that is happening, the records are already cleaned the JSON, but API the the Dynobo database stores the records, which I already told you the Lambda records the records. What I wanted to pursue more into, what I wanted to pursue more into, and I had it up here. I'll show you later. One thing I want to implement is more as a front end type of overall view, so I have all the information. I implemented some of it, but I did not implement it as effectively as I wanted because one preference I forgot to add into it is the veteran preference because there's certain jobs in United States or United States because I have the United States. They're called veteran preference. It's the degree of okay, how much of a veteran preference do you match? I want to implement that as a future task. Speaking of future tasks, some of the technical challenges I faced while doing this is one time when I first started results, I put in the name remote. I used the remote as a filter, and remote came up with zero results, so we had to work around that. And then I had to start trying to work on my back end. VS Code virtual environment was not picking up my matplotlib, the library for that, so I had to actually reinstall that like into VS Code into my PC. My PC already had it, but VS Code was connected to the PC, so we was having a disconnect there. And then I was having a disconnect with my S3 buckets, trying to get my buckets to work properly to store the data, because the buckets is where it stores is where the DynamoDB is all located at. And then when I got the bugs working, I couldn't connect to the tables because my DynamoDB tables, one was named VetTech Jobs Records and one was named VetTech Job Record. So in my VS Code, I had an extra S, which I had to remove that. But then before all of that, my major issue was I did not realize that the account I created for my AWS was with my student account. A student account, you only have student privileges, or I wouldn't necessarily say just student account. Any account that's not necessarily you're the owner of, like you're in a company and stuff, you always have policies, and the policies sometimes limit access to certain stuff. So With the account that I had, it was like a organization account, and my organization account limited my access to all the stuff I had. So I had to go back like 2 weeks into building all this stuff. I had to go back and actually, because I created all this stuff on my student account, try to get it to work at least, but I couldn't create the users I needed. I couldn't create my lambdas, and I couldn't get a hold of the DB because I didn't have the correct credentials for that. So I had to disengage from my student account and actually create a new free account to utilize that one to try to get it to work. So I actually got it working. When I got it working, everything worked. Everything works properly. My biggest disappointment, like I told you before, is I didn't get the veteran specific jobs, not just the veteran preference, but veteran specific jobs. Because there's some jobs that's only for veterans, and I want mostly remote and only for veterans, and then veteran preference. Because you can be only for veterans, but you still have a higher veteran preference depending on if you're a disabled veteran, certain limitations, certain degrees with that. One thing I want to show you is actually the front end that I was working on. This I actually looked up some um what's the word I'm looking for? Some systems with it. Oh, I have to run it again. I forgot I stopped running it. But this is so it's not running right now, so it's not gonna show everything correctly because it's not running. But essentially, what I want to do in future tense is I want to be able to, like right here, it says VetTech Opportunity Radar. That's the whole reason I created it. So it's going to be able to show me the total jobs that I was able to find, the remote jobs, then the actually developer roles, like the roles I specifically want, the main roles I want, my average match score. The match score, like I explained to you before, is going to be what tailored specifically to me. But I want to add another column, which is veteran preference, and if the veteran preference meets my criteria. And what I could do is you see all the charts I showed you before in the VS code, it populates here the same way. It not only populates, but you can zoom in, you can zoom out, you can filter it by how you want to. This is Streamlit. I'm sorry. The front end work I'm using for this is Streamlit. I skipped over that. Streamlit is very very new to me. That's one another technical difficulties I had an issue with. I'm somewhat new to Streamlit, so I had to do through like a whole bunch of code sourcing and a whole bunch of manipulation just to try and find stuff. Even some AI support, just type in and say, how do I utilize this to get this to produce this? Okay, I have these here. Now let me use this. And it generated a beautiful feature. Like it has everything I could ask for, but I feel like I'm not entwined with it so much because I had so little time. I needed to do more in depth research, utilize it more in depth. But the one thing I do like about Streamlit is it bypasses having the need to create like JavaScript, CSS, and HTML. This all is ran through Python. And I think that's beautiful. You can create it all through Python, generate how you want it to generate it. It's like you put in all in one line. And I'm telling you, and I could just show you. You put it all on one line, and it'll produce it for you. So right here is where the stream would be produced at. You know, usually how HTML and CSS you have to separate it. Like literally, it says right here. This is the CSS style you want to make it visualize. This is how you're going to visualize it. This is all the information. The data is going to load the data from. You're going to try the DM download first. So I implemented that so you can see what it's doing. Which overall is I've loved the idea of my concept. It's just I feel like I rushed it because it was something important to me, but I also tried to make something important on the time schedule. So I think that's one of my hardest difficulties. What I would do over is realize that I need an actual AWS account or do an in-depth study of what I'm going to be using for my project instead of just saying, okay, I want to use this because I know of this and this. Like I knew of AWS. I took a course on it last semester, so that's what made me want to utilize it. But I didn't realize it was tied to my student account, which I should have did a more in-depth study before I confirmed it. Um, I got to remember that I wanted to do the veterans preference. I didn't throw my veterans preference on there because I was in the rush of trying to make it beautiful and trying to make the dashboard and hit all the box on there. Not just the student box, not just the criteria box, but my personal boxes of if I make a presentation, I want to be able to present it and say, hey, this is what I've done and this is my personal touch. My personal touch means a lot to me, but being able to do the job that it's intended to do is more important than doing my personal touch. I want to thank you all for being here, part of this presentation. Once again, my name is LaTroy Richardson. Have a good evening, good morning, or good afternoon, depending on what time of the world you is. And adios.